Hey, you're being lied to about Bitcoin's environmental impact.
Bitcoin mining, the blockchain, Dogecoin. Cryptocurrency is having a notable impact on the world's financial markets, but it's also affecting the environment.
Mining is increasing emissions from coal and natural gas generation. Crypto mining could undermine our progress to fight climate change.
But why are they constructing this narrative, and why does it matter to you right now? Simply put, they're trying to squash Bitcoin because they can't control it. Bitcoin was created so that you can have freedom money that no one can tamper with. Let's take a look at the facts so you can think for yourself.
So let's get into it.
Let's first address what Bitcoin mining is. At its simplest terms, Bitcoin data centers, also known as miners, use computers to solve complex puzzles, allowing people to send Bitcoin to each other. For this work, they are rewarded with Bitcoin. There's an estimated 1 million Bitcoin miners in the world, which makes the Bitcoin network impenetrable from a single point of attack and allowing it to be decentralized. Now, let's address the critics. When people talk about Bitcoin's energy use, they often say it's using up a lot of electricity and assume that someone somewhere is losing access to power because of it. But that's not actually true. Bitcoin's presence in many jurisdictions doesn't affect the price of energy because the energy there isn't actually being utilized.
How is that possible?
Miners are highly incentivized to seek out the most overlooked and underutilized sources of energy in order to reduce cost. It's also important to know that energy isn't globally fungible or mutually interchangeable. Personally, I'm based in Taipei, and it's not like I can just trade my energy here with your energy, say, in the US. When electricity is generated, it starts to lose power as it travels to different locations. It's also expensive to transport electricity over long distances. In fact, according to the World Bank, about 8% of electricity is lost during transportation globally. Even when it's sent through high voltage transmission lines, there are still some losses. That's why we have energy grids. Electricity needs to be produced close to where people live, especially in cities. When compared to this 8% of lost energy, Bitcoin consumes an inconsequential amount of energy. The entire world consumes 165,000 terawatt hours of electricity, while Bitcoin consumes only 275, taking 0.17% of the share. Bitcoin shouldn't even be in the same conversation in terms of wasting energy.
Seriously.
Critics have also been vocal about Bitcoin mining worsening climate change due to electricity generated by gas and coal-fired power plants, which can emit greenhouse gases. But is Bitcoin really that bad for the environment? Contrary to these narratives, Bitcoin mining is actually the biggest driver to clean and renewable energy in the world when you look at the data. Bitcoin miners earn on average $50 million per day, which comes out to around $18.2 billion a year in miner revenue. Those are some massive financial incentives to try to find the cheapest power possible, while simultaneously driving innovation. Financial incentives drive the world, and as Warren Buffett's partner Charlie Munger famously said, "Show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome." According to the UN, the cheapest possible power today is in renewable and clean energy. So of course, Bitcoin mining is naturally gravitating towards green energy. Another major incentive for miners to go green is to be compliant to the ESG standard. ESG, which stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance, refers to a collection of criteria that socially responsible investors use to evaluate possible investments. ESG investments are expected to grow to almost $34 trillion by 2026. Miners understand that in order for Bitcoin to achieve mass adoption and become a multi-trillion-dollar asset class, the ESG standard must be accounted for. In fact, the majority of Bitcoin mining around the world is already using sustainable energy.
Clean, renewable energy.
The Bitcoin Mining Council, which is made up of 53 Bitcoin mining companies, represents just shy of half of the global Bitcoin mining network. Therefore, they have the most accurate real-time data. They estimated that in Q4 of 2022, renewable energy sources accounted for 58.9% of the electricity used to mine Bitcoin, which drastically increased from 36.8% in Q1 of 2021, less than 2 years before.
That's quite an accomplishment.
The reason for the big increase in using renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and hydroelectric power is because they are getting cheaper, which makes them more competitive with traditional energy sources. Solar and wind, for example, are now drastically cheaper than coal compared to a decade ago.
That's a good deal.
Additionally, when you compare the use of sustainable energy with entire countries, Bitcoin mining is by far the leading player that utilizes green energy. But it's not just a growing use of renewables. Bitcoin mining captures energy that would otherwise go to waste. Back to our solar and wind example. Because they can only generate electricity when the sun is shining and the wind is blowing, these sources of energy are intermittent. A large portion of this energy is produced when there is low demand, and if it is not stored in batteries, it is either wasted or curtailed. California is on track to curtail 5 million megawatt hours by 2030, which is more than the combined energy use of the bottom 36 countries.
Holy waste of energy.
Bitcoin miners are happy to buy all this excess energy from solar and wind farms, which will further drive up revenue for renewable generation and prevent taxpayers having to subsidize it in the form of government tax credit incentives.
That's a win, 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 win.
What's even more impressive is that Bitcoin mining actually cleans up toxic waste. There's been innovation around eliminating a major contributor to global warming, methane. Methane is a potent greenhouse gas that is extremely damaging to our environment and is usually uneconomical to bring to the market as a source of energy. Bitcoin miners can now make use of stranded methane, which usually comes from landfills, abandoned wells, and oil and gas operations. In fact, ExxonMobil is now mining Bitcoin as part of its strategy to reduce emissions. Bitcoin mining farms have been popping up around oil fields because of new technologies that allows it to utilize the excess gas it emits. Conventionally, not all of the gas can be transported and utilized due to logistical limitations. Burning the surplus gas is a standard procedure in the industry. The procedure, known as flaring, is extremely harmful to the environment. People have tried to solve flaring for a long time, but the conventional method of chemical engineering, such as compression and liquefaction, does not make economic sense. For context, flaring accounts for 1% of all man-made atmospheric carbon dioxide, or CO2, emissions in the world. The release of methane, on the other hand, is even worse. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, methane is more than 25 times as potent than CO2 in trapping heat in the atmosphere.
What a nightmare!
On the other hand, CO2 production from Bitcoin mining stands at a mere 0.1% of global production, while simultaneously combating methane, which is 25 times worse for global warming than CO2.
Impressive.
Another unlikely source of methane that is being utilized by Bitcoin miners is cow poo. When cows defecate, they emit methane gas, which is now being used to mine Bitcoin.
That's all good shit.
Bitcoin is now a solution to reducing the worst pollutant, which is literally improving our environmental condition. Bitcoin mining is also a net positive for our society by creating jobs, generating tax income, and many other benefits to rural communities. Please stay informed so you don't get brainwashed by politicians who will spread misinformation in order to direct narratives to fit their political agenda.
Politicians are the criminals.
I've included links to all of my research down in the description below, so be sure to educate yourself. Please consider subscribing if you want to keep venturing down the crypto rabbit hole with me.
You're the best.
Right now, there is an economic crisis happening before our eyes. Amid yet another banking crisis, Bitcoin provides consumers and businesses with a much-needed alternative for storing wealth, as well as the freedom to control their own assets. And the best place to buy Bitcoin is with world-leading exchange, Bigot. Are you a fan of Bitcoin mining? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next journey.